My name's Jason. I'm 29, a sergeant major in the U.S. Army stationed at Fort Benning in Columbus, Georgia. I've spent the last 8 years serving my country. 3 deployments, 2 Purple Hearts, and more nights in desert outposts than I care to count. When I'm home, I live in a modest ranch house on the outskirts of town with my wife, Victoria. We met 5 years ago at a charity gala her family hosted. She was this stunning blonde in a red dress, daughter of a prominent Atlanta surgeon, and I was the decorated soldier her father invited to speak. We married 9 months later in a ceremony that cost more than my annual salary. Victoria works as a regional manager for a high-end cosmetics company, the kind that sells $80 lipsticks to women who lunch. She's ambitious, polished, always put together, yes, hairstyled, nails done. Designer handbags that cost what I make in a month. Our life looked perfect from the outside: the handsome soldier, the beautiful wife, the 2-story house with the white picket fence. But lately, something had been off. She'd been distant, distracted, always on her phone with a secretive smile. She started having these girls' night out events every Friday at some new bar downtown called Velvet Rouge. "It's just cocktails and dancing with Amanda and the girls," she'd say, kissing my cheek before disappearing in a cloud of expensive perfume. "Don't wait up, babe. You know how we get when we're together." I trusted her. God help me, I trusted her completely. I'd been gone for 7 months on my last deployment, and when I came home, I figured she deserved to blow off steam. Marriage takes work, especially military marriages. So I'd nod, tell her to have fun, and spend my Friday nights at the gym or watching football with my buddy Travis from base. But 3 weeks ago, something happened that changed everything. I was supposed to deploy to Germany for a 2-month training exercise. My unit had been preparing for weeks. Equipment checks, briefings, the whole 9 yards. Victoria had been extra affectionate that last week, more attentive than she'd been in months. I remember thinking maybe this time apart would be good for us, give her space to miss me. Then, 48 hours before Wheels Up, the mission got scrapped. Budget cuts, political red tape, didn't matter why. What mattered was I was staying home, and I hadn't told Victoria yet. I wanted to surprise her, maybe take her out to that Italian place she loved, remind her why we fell in love in the first place. It was a Friday night, around 9:30 p.m., and I knew she was at Velvet Rouge with the girls. I decided to swing by, surprise her with flowers, maybe join them for a drink. I changed out of my uniform into jeans and a black Henley, grabbed a bouquet of roses from the 24-hour grocery store, and drove my Dodge Ram into downtown Columbus. Velvet Rouge was in a sketchy part of town which struck me as odd. Victoria usually preferred upscale places, wine bars with exposed brick and craft cocktails. This place was tucked between a pawn shop and a closed laundromat, the kind of building with blacked-out windows and a single red neon sign flickering above a steel door. No windows, no visible signage beyond the name. Just a bouncer, huge guy, maybe 6'5", arms like tree trunks, standing guard. I approached, roses in hand, and the bouncer stepped forward. "Private event tonight, man. Members only." "My wife's inside," I said, keeping my voice level. "Victoria Harper. I'm just dropping these off for her." He looked me up and down, his expression unreadable. "No can do. Club rules. You want to get in? You need to be on the list or have a membership." Something about his tone set off alarms in my head. 8 years in the Army teaches you to read situations, to trust your gut when something's wrong. "Look, I'm not trying to cause trouble. I just want to see my wife for 5 minutes." "Not happening, buddy. Move along." I could have pushed it, could have pulled rank, made a scene, but I'm not that guy. So I walked back to my truck, sat there for a minute staring at those blacked-out windows, and made a decision. If Victoria was just having drinks with her friends, why the secrecy? Why the bouncer? Why this place? I drove around the block, parked in an alley behind the building, and did what I was trained to do: reconnaissance. There was a back entrance, metal door, no lock, just a push bar. Service entrance, probably for deliveries. I tested it, unlocked. I slipped inside. The hallway was dark, lit only by red emergency lights, and the bass from music upstairs vibrated through the walls. I could hear voices, laughter, the clink of glasses. I moved quietly, years of training kicking in, and found a staircase leading up to the main floor. What I saw when I reached the top changed my life forever. The main room was dim, bathed in red and purple lights with velvet couches arranged around the perimeter and a bar along one wall. But this wasn't a normal bar. There were people everywhere, couples, groups, in various states of undress. On the couches, against the walls, some not even bothering to hide what they were doing. The air was thick with sweat, alcohol, and something else I couldn't name. This wasn't a girls' night out spot. This was a sex club. And there, in the center of the room on a velvet couch, was Victoria. She was straddling some guy I'd never seen before. Tall, muscular, tattoos snaking up his arms. Her dress hiked up around her waist, his hands gripping her hips. Her head was thrown back, her blonde hair cascading down her bare shoulders, and she was laughing, breathless, like this was the most natural thing in the world. Around them, other people were watching, some touching each other, some just drinking and enjoying the show. I stood there, frozen, the roses still in my hand. My brain couldn't process it. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. But then she kissed him, deep and hungry, and the sound she made, the same sound she used to make with me, snapped me out of it. Victoria! My voice cut through the music like a gunshot. The room didn't stop, not entirely, but heads turned. Victoria's eyes flew open, and when she saw me standing there in the doorway, her face went white. She scrambled off the guy, yanking her dress down, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Jason, what the hell is this? I said, my voice low, controlled. The kind of voice I use when I'm about to lose it but can't afford to. What the hell are you doing? The guy she'd been with stood up, adjusting his jeans, looking more annoyed than guilty. Dude, this is a private club. You can't just... I dropped the roses and crossed the room in 3 strides. Shut your mouth before I shut it for you. He took one look at me, at the way I carried myself, the scars on my knuckles, the cold fury in my eyes, and backed off. Smart man. Victoria grabbed my arm, her voice shaking. Jason, please, let me explain. Explain? I laughed, bitter and sharp. Explain what? That you've been lying to me for months? That while I was overseas getting shot at, you were here screwing strangers? It's not like that, she said, tears streaming down her face, smudging her mascara. It's just something I do to unwind. It doesn't mean anything. I love you, Jason. I do. I stared at her, this woman I'd married, this woman I'd trusted with everything, and I didn't recognize her. You love me? You have a funny way of showing it. By now the room had gone quiet. The music still played, but everyone was watching. This unwanted drama interrupting their Friday night debauchery. I saw Amanda, Victoria's supposed best friend, in the corner with some guy, her face red with shame. I saw other women I recognized from Victoria's social circle, all of them frozen like deer in headlights. The bouncer from the front door appeared, flanked by 2 other guys. Sir, you need to leave, now. I turned to him, and whatever he saw in my face made him hesitate. I'm leaving, but she's coming with me. Victoria shook her head, backing away. No, Jason, I can't. You can't what? Come home? Face what you've done? I looked around the room at the faces staring back at me and felt nothing but disgust. All of you, this is what you do with your lives? This is what fulfills you? No one answered. I grabbed Victoria's purse from the couch and shoved it into her hands. Get dressed, we're leaving. She didn't move, just stood there crying, shaking her head. I can't go back, Jason. I can't go back to that life. It's suffocating. You're always gone, and I'm always alone, and this is the only place I feel alive. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. So this is my fault? Because I serve my country? Because I'm not here to entertain you every second of every day? That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Victoria? Because it sounds like you're blaming me for your infidelity. She opened her mouth, then closed it, tears streaming harder now. She had no answer. She couldn't defend this. I turned and walked out, leaving her there in that den of lies and broken vows. Behind me, I heard her call my name, desperate and pleading, but I didn't stop. The bouncer didn't try to stop me either. I think he knew better. I sat in my truck for an hour, parked in that alley, staring at nothing. My hands were shaking, my chest tight, and I couldn't think straight. I kept replaying the image of her on that couch, the way she'd looked at that guy, the sounds she'd made. 8 years of marriage, 5 years of loving her, believing in us, and it had all been a lie. When I finally drove home, the house was dark and empty. I packed a bag, uniforms, boots, a few civilian clothes, and checked into a motel near base. I didn't sleep. I just sat there, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'd missed the signs, how I'd been so blind. The next morning, I called a divorce lawyer. Victoria tried to reach me. Dozens of calls, texts, voicemails full of apologies and excuses. But I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. She'd made her choice, and I'd made mine. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. She got the house. Her father's money paid for most of it anyway, and I got my freedom. I threw myself into work, took on extra deployments, anything to keep my mind off the wreckage of my marriage. People ask me if I regret surprising her that night, if I wish I'd stayed ignorant. But I don't. Ignorance isn't bliss. It's just another kind of prison. I'd rather live with the truth, no matter how ugly, than build my life on lies. Love isn't supposed to be conditional. It's not supposed to be something you only feel when it's convenient or exciting. Marriage is a promise, a commitment, and she broke it in the worst possible way. I don't know if I'll ever trust someone like that again. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But one thing I know for sure, I'll never settle for less than I deserve. And I sure as hell will never walk into another place like Velvet Rouge. Some doors are better left closed, and some surprises change everything.